Hey everybody, this is Donovan from Springfield Music, and I want to welcome you to Mo Better Bands, which is both a podcast and a YouTube channel where we talk with instrumental music educators in Missouri and Kansas about their programs, their successes, their challenges, and so much more. If there's a topic or an educator that you'd like to hear, drop me an email at donovan@springfieldmusic.com. That's DONOVAN at springfieldmusic.com. Okay, let's get to today's guest.
Exactly.
Ready for some music? Band directors, this is for you. We've got a precedent-setting double entry. It's from the Michael D. Sewell Foundation. It's a float and a band that salutes America's band leaders and the late Michael D. Sewell himself. First, the float. We teach music, we teach life.
So you mentioned Michael D. Sewell. Here's a little bit about him. He's a beloved band director and music teacher at Pinkerton High School in Ohio. He must have been a teacher, had so much impact on a student. He brought his band, in fact, to the Rose Parade 4 times during his tenure from 1981 to 2015. So the director striking up the band on the float has a cranberry seed coat. His 3-man band is supporting Blue Status Blazers. Thanks to some creative animation, they're also playing up a storm on their clover seed, strawflower, and coconut covered instruments.
And Mark, we've got then the second component of this double feature entry, continuing the salute to Michael Sewell. This is the band director's marching band. Let's listen in, thanks to Inland Empire Health Plan.
The name implies this unit is comprised entirely of band directors, and they come from all 50 states as well as Mexico. Among the very distinguished group of 289 strong extraordinary musicians are 76 teachers of the year. There are 8 Grammy Music Educator semifinalists and 4 John Philip Sousa Legion of Honor laureates.
I love them.
I'm telling you, I'm going to name drop these guys. They are so prestigious.
And they are
accomplished,
changing so many lives. Look at the thumbs up he gets while playing his trumpet. That's cool.
So today we're here on Mo Better Bands. We're talking about the Saluting America's Band Directors float and the experience of getting to march as a band director in the band director band in the Rose Bowl Parade, which is really exciting. Got 4 directors here to kind of talk to us about it. I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves here. Angelete, why don't you go first?
Hi, my name is Angelete Frein. I teach in the Wentzville School District, and I also assisted with Parkway West Marching Band during marching season. I teach beginning band all day, and yay!
Tyler?
My name is Tyler Jones. I am a band director in the Seneca R7 School District, Southwest Missouri, and I teach junior high and high school band.
TJ?
I'm TJ Higgins. I am one of the 2 band directors at Helias Catholic High School, and I also do all of the music and band at St. Martin Catholic School in Jefferson City, Missouri.
And Tom?
I am retired from Linn High School. I taught my whole career at Linn High School in Linn, Missouri, and I currently am teaching after-school band a couple days a week at St. George, the parochial school in town at Linn.
Awesome. And Tom and TJ are father-son duo here. So the group that put this together is Saluting America's Band Directors. And this was at their website for anyone who wants to kind of get more information is banddirectorsalute.org. And so they organized and put this together in tribute to a band director from Ohio.
So the foundation is the Michael D. Sewell Foundation, based out of Pickerington, Ohio. Michael D. Sewell was a band director out there for many years. He brought his band to the Rose Bowl Parade 4 times. I think in one of the articles I read where like him and his wife went to the Rose Bowl for their honeymoon. So he was a big supporter of the Rose Bowl Parade and getting that experience for his students. And then back at home in Pickerington, Ohio, he was a well-respected band director and did many things for the community. I know at the banquet, they talked about how he would invest time in his students. That's the one thing that we can give to our students is time and invest in them. And so when he passed away in 2017, his wife Karen created this foundation, and through time, it's built up, and it's, they've done different things like supporting the band program out there. And then one of their ultimate goals was getting a float at the Rose Bowl parade in his honor. And then that kind of transformed into what we became, where they added the 300 outwalkers to the parade. And that is kind of how all this came to be, and how we got this very unique experience with saluting America's band directors. So it all goes back to the Michael D. Swell Foundation.
Gotcha. And how did you become aware of it, Angelete?
So I became aware of it through Facebook. I had a friend in Texas that signed up for it, and we signed up for it back in 2019 when it first was proposed. And then sweet COVID hit, and we weren't able to do it last year. And so I just kept my membership with it. And, as soon as it was able to happen, I was going to do it. And, for me personally, I did this just because I wanted the experience of doing the Rose Bowl parade, because coming from small town Missouri, that was never exactly an option. So I wanted to experience it while I could still move and walk. So
Tyler, you had kind of a similar exposure to it, but sound around the same time, and both on Facebook. What was it that made you want to sign up for it?
Well, this was the second time I had marched in the parade. The first time was back in 2010, whenever I was a freshman in high school. And my big thing this time was I wanted to remember what I was doing. As a freshman in high school, I didn't quite understand the magnitude of what I was getting myself into. It was just kind of like, oh, hey, you're in the band, you're going to march in this parade. And I was like, oh okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I'll do what you tell me to do. And I didn't quite understand the magnitude of what I was doing. And I think this year it kind of came full circle to coming back to teachers, even in the theme of the parade. I see Tom, I think, has the drum head behind his head that has the motto for it. I think it's dream, believe, achieve. And I think that come back to when I was a freshman and dreaming of what I wanted to do whenever I was older. And this time, whenever I was a band director, and bringing that experience back to my kids and sharing with them what I experienced now that I can actually remember what I was doing and understood the magnitude of what I was doing. I think back then I was just excited we were going to Disneyland and Universal Studios rather than the actual parade itself. So it was nice to actually remember what I was doing and understanding the magnitude of what it was. And that turn onto Colorado Boulevard will be a picture that is forever engraved in my brain. Like, as soon as you turn onto Colorado Boulevard, it is like straight downhill for a few blocks, and you see everything in front of you, and the thousands of people that are lining the streets, all the TV cameras and everything. So it was a surreal experience this time, being on this side of I guess it really wasn't on this side of the directing thing because I was still a member of the band, but this side of that, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. Tom, how'd you find out about it, and what made you want to do it?
Well, TJ and I were sitting on the couch, probably watching a football game, which we do a lot. And it just came up in conversation. Oh yeah, by the way, they're putting together a band directors band for the Rose Bowl parade. I'm like, what, dude? I'm going to march that thing. He's like, oh, whatever, Dad, you're old, and I'm like, no, I got this. I can do this. So he said, well, here's the website. So we looked at it and see what it was going to take to do it. And so he said, well, I needed to call. I'd just come off foot surgery, and I called my doctor and said, hey, am I going to be cleared to march this parade? And he's like, when is it? I'm like, January. He goes, yeah, you'll be all right, January. And so I signed up, and TJ said, well, heck, if you're signing up, I'll sign up too. So we went together, and the parade people were pretty excited when they found out all three of our sons are band directors, and they were like, dude, you get your whole family to march, 4 band directors in the same family. That'd be cool, And so TJ's already signed up, and I checked the other 2 boys, and Chris, our youngest one, he was already marching in the parade in the Combined Air Force band. And so, like, I'm busy, Dad. Sorry, I booked that day, And the middle one didn't want to sign up. I'm like, oh, whatever, And then come to find out, they were expecting a child, and so he had a 1-month-old at home during the parade. So good call not leaving Mom at home with a 1-month-old and a 5-year-old. So
yeah,
but
exactly.
I signed up. we had a blast. It was a really, like Tyler said, it was a surreal experience. It was.
Yeah. You all were kind of telling me a little bit about the sort of the itinerary, and you obviously get yourself to California, and then there's a rehearsal, and there was some inclement weather, which was forcing some of the rehearsals inside and having to adjust for that. And every band director understands parade and marching rehearsals and having to have a plan B for weather. Um, but and practicing in hotel ballrooms and just what a thrill it is to hear 300 band directors start to get back on their instruments and play. And Tom, it sounded like you're pretty impressed overall with the quality of musicianship as well with this group.
Yeah, when the first rehearsal, like you said, we had to go to plan B. So they were like, just come down to the ballroom, bring your horns, we'll rehearse there. So they had, the ballroom was all set up to eat, it had round tables everywhere. So they had us lined up like two rows between each row of tables. And they just said, well, let's just kick this off and see what comes out, So we warmed up, we did a scale, and they started off the tune. We played 76 trombones and just lit it up, And I told somebody at church this morning, think about the best trumpet player you've ever taught in your entire career. Think about that kid that was that amazing kid. And there's 50 of those to your left playing, 50 of the best trumpet player of your entire career blowing the side of your head off. That was the way the whole band was. Everybody was like that. It was just unbelievable. We played that first tune. I was like, wow, it was stupendous. It was really cool. So
that is awesome. And then something I was completely unaware of is this, was it Band Fest, or is it
Band Fest,
2.5 day festival where all the bands that are performing in the Rose Bowl actually sort of do a set aside concert as well. TJ, tell us about that.
Yeah, they do that at Pasadena City College. So they had broken into 3 different groups. So the groups that were at the beginning of the parade were performing on Wednesday evening. And then the middle of the parade was Thursday morning. And then we were Thursday afternoon. They had the Pasadena Honor Band perform all 3 times, and we were second right after them at the third performance. And when we got there, it was raining. So they had all the tents that we went through, and we were all in our ponchos and rain gear. And when we were performing, I saw one of the videos of it, and you could see the steady downpour as we were performing in our clear plastic ponchos.
Yeah, so if you haven't watched BandFest or anything like this, and I say this as a total newbie and learning about it, you march onto the field, you do your performance, and then they actually have each band troop in front of the stands once you're done performing, which is actually super unique. And I think it's super fun because the crowd goes wild. You play your song again. So really for us, that was, I think, the first time we had played and marched together, like on the move, a whole bunch, like in, having a performance. So it was super unique to be a part of that. But after we got done with BandFest, we went and did the iconic Rose Bowl picture. So not only were we soaked from BandFest, but we had to stand outside to do our Rose Bowl picture with no ponchos. So we got even more soaked from this on Thursday, which again, honestly, I think everybody had fun.
Unbelievable. Angelete, you had mentioned about the soloist. Tell me a little bit more about the soloist.
Okay, so at BandFest, we had Alex Hahn, who is a phenomenal saxophone player. He has played with groups like Michael Bublé. His dad is actually the MC of the BandFest, and he's a former band director. I believe he's retired now. So it was just kind of full circle bringing Alex in to perform with the band directors group because his dad was a band director. Without music education, he would not be where he is today. And he's performed all over. I know they've talked about when he performed in Russia, Israel, like just phenomenal places. He's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful performer. And not only that, he's a great person. He took pictures with several of the band directors, and just, he was a very cool, down-to-earth guy. We played Sing, Sing, Sing with him. So that was really fun. That was our last tune we played for the band fest performance. So we did 3 tunes that we used on the parade route, which was 76 trombones, which is what you guys saw on TV Corner. We did Stars and Stripes Forever and Strike Up the Band. And then that last Sing, 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 we did that for Band Fest. He even talked about, Skyping into people's band rooms and doing clinics with them and just talking about like how as a performer he's made his way and just clinicking the kids and working with stuff like that. So it was a very unique experience. And again, a lot of what this experience is was bringing everybody together and bringing back that center of music education and how important that is. And he even talked about that at the performance. His band director was there from high school, which was really cool to see. He stood up in the stands and waved. So it was just neat seeing. It's every band director's dream. You see like a kid go on to do something really awesome and then they come back and they perform. So it was just really unique being a part of that experience. Yes, the weather could have been better, but it didn't matter. We were all there. We were all together. We were having fun. We just did this performance in front of parents, fans, all sorts of stuff like that. It was super great and just a super unique experience to be a part of.
Another funny story about the band fest thing. We had practiced it that morning at Arcadia High School where we hadn't gone outside for a lot, but we'd gone outside for a little, and we practiced going on and off the field. And then we lined up over on the track and we went on the track and thought, okay, this is fine. We fit good. Everything's great, And so we get over to Pasadena City College and we do our performance. We line up on the track and like, oh, wait a minute, what's going on here? And then somebody points out, yeah, this morning we had a 9-lane track that we were lined up on going around here. Now we got an 8-lane track. So it was, 1.5 or 2 foot narrower. And we're marking wide on this thing. And we're like, wow, that pinched us a little bit. TJ was on the left side trying not to fall off the edge of the track into the abyss there, So that's just, it was like one of those other things as a band director, you adjust, you just adjust. And so we're like, okay, well, we're going to be a little closer here when we watch this gig.
Yeah.
So that was kind of funny at BandFest.
And one thing I want to add about BandFest is different from the parade in the fact that everyone that's there is there to watch you and only you. They're not there to watch a parade. There's no floats running by or driving by or anything like that. So the audience that you have at BandFest is strictly there to listen to you perform and the groups after you perform. So it kind of throws you back to whenever you were in high school and marching band and you went to your first marching band competition. And everyone there in the audience is there to watch you, not necessarily at a Friday night football game where they're, let's go get some nachos or let's go get a burger. It's just everyone in the football stadium at that point in time was there to watch you and only you performed. And that's what I miss about my job currently is the ability to perform in front of an audience that's only there to watch you. And it kind of threw me back to my high school days and college days, wherever I got to perform in front of people that were only there to watch you.
Yeah. That's a great experience. Shifting back to the parade real quick, Tyler, you mentioned about your memory of kind of cresting the hill and looking down at the vista before you. Anybody else have any standout memories of the actual Rose Bowl Day parade itself?
I was astounded by the sheer numbers that, of course, it's the Rose Bowl parade. There's going to be a lot of people watching it. And they had told us there'd be 1 million people on the parade route watching it live. And I thought, whatever, they're throwing numbers around, but the grandstands, and of course you see a little bit of that on TV. Now and then you see a shot of the grandstands. They were huge. There really were a ton of people there. And the crowd was really, really appreciative. When I mentioned earlier, when we got to the end of the parade route, we're almost at the end and we're going through a residential area, obviously, kind of just heading into this place we're going to disband. But even there, the people were 8-10 deep on both sides and cheering loudly. They were happy to hear us play. They were like, wow, dude, you guys sound phenomenal. Because TJ and I were running the outside. We could hear people talking to us and stuff. And they were really impressed even then after 5 miles, at how good we sounded and looked. And it was a neat crowd. At that point, it was a lot of parents and stuff because most of the people were holding up signs for Yay Ashley from the Pasadena All City Band, stuff like that. So at that point, you're in a definite band crowd. This is our foot. This is our people. This is the booster type people.
Yeah.
And they were pretty. It was fun. So
I think it was fun too, because along the parade route, there were actually some signs. Like, I was up towards the front of the band and we saw a couple signs that said, "We love you, band director," and it would have their name. And it was actually their students from some of the California directors that were there. And as we walked by, I can't tell you how many times we heard, "We love you, band directors." Like, we heard that multiple times. And it was super, like, humbling just to see that many people grateful for the experience that, all of us provide to our students. And I think regardless of how you feel or anything like that, it knocks you back down to that level of like, holy cow, you impact this many people, and now you're with 300 other people that impact this many people. It's just great to see how far this profession inspires. People love it. And, we get to make music, we get to do super cool things, but, a lot of times we forget about the human aspect. And it's really nice to see how big of an impact we have on this. I know myself, I had many people come out of the woodwork and say, "I saw you on TV. Like, that's super awesome. I'm so proud of you." Like, those are the people that we like do this stuff for. I can't stress enough how I as much as we did do it for ourselves, but like at the end of the day, we didn't. Like, I did this to honor my band directors, my family, those people that have put me in this chair where I am today. Like, I would be nothing without them. So I think it's important that like we also take a moment and kind of recognize about this. That's what made this, group so unique, is the Mike D. Swell Foundation. He impacted how many people and students. They talked about the years of experience, some really cool facts that they gave us. There was over 4,500 plus years of experience in that ensemble. So you think about how many students they impacted and stuff like that. And that was really, really unique to be a part of. That just made this experience like take it to the next level for sure.
Yeah. So I think just the whole experience that day was just very memorable. Like my brother, I had the opportunity to march in the 2009 inaugural parade as well, and being able to march in this parade, it's totally different, but in a great way as well. It just I remember just so many things about the day. And as far as what Angelete was saying, I think it's very appropriate that our unit, the model that was on our float was, "We teach music, we teach life." So, and then one of the other facts that I think is very cool is that they said there's something like 76 teachers of the year that were marching in our group.
That's amazing. Holy cow.
yeah, another thing Angelique touched on was that we're not only doing this for ourselves. TJ and I are both from small towns, and our whole town. I mean, my phone, my phone's connected to my watch, and as we were going around through TV Corner, my watch is just like going bzz, 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 just lighting up with people shooting texts like, "Seeing you on TV." Of course, you didn't know that then, but you get off the route and we're seeing, "I'm seeing you on TV." Pictures of the TV screen and people from our little town. Like, whoo! And so at that point, especially, it kind of felt like, yeah, we're doing this for our people, for our town. All these families of kids that I've taught over the years, and all my alumni and stuff, and even people in the Jeff City greater area. TJ and I play in the Jeff City Symphony, and people from Jeff City made the newspaper there, and we just got all kinds of stuff on Facebook and texting. So we felt like at the end of the parade that we were representing our whole area, not just ourselves and our students. So that was pretty cool.
Tyler, you had mentioned you had the time of your life, and there was things from that you're still taking away today. It's now been over a week since it. What were some of your takeaways from getting to do this event?
Yeah, it was just the wealth of knowledge that was around you that from all the band directors that were there. Getting everyone you talked to came from a different walk of life. They came from different experiences, yet there was one thing that all brought us together, and that was the fact that our love for music, and that we're band directors now. And it kind of like every time I go to MMEA, or get home from Midwest, or would go to a conference, I just have this fire in me about education, about music education again. And I feel that again because like I think Angelete mentioned it, there was like 4,500 years of experience amongst all of the band directors there. And I look back and I'm like, how many, like, my band directors are the reason that I'm here doing this today. And it's like, how many kids have I reached, or how many kids, like, thinking of how many kids they're going to reach. And it was just a real experience being with that many band directors that are all there for the same reason you are, and doing music and education for the same reason you are.
Anybody else have any memorable takeaways that they would add about that?
Morning of the parade, buses left at 6. We had our box breakfast. We were staying in Woodland Hills, which is like northwest of the city, and we drove over to Pasadena, and we got to the staging area 1, which is where the buses parked. So, like, as we were parked there waiting for our turn to go unload, we actually were parked next to a Fountain Township, and then they cleared us, and then all of us drove down to where the second staging area was, which when we were unloading. So we unloaded quickly. We had to have our instruments in our lap minus the sousaphone and percussion, because they didn't want us to worry about any cases or anything, because we had to do it very quickly. And then you unload, and just ahead is a bridge, which is lined with a whole bunch of porta potties, which is your last chance to go to the bathroom before the 5.5 mile parade. And so we were kind of waiting there because we were numbers 58 and 59. So we were not at the beginning, not at the very end, but somewhat towards the back. So we were a little bit further down on the staging area. So we ended up just waiting on the bridge right as the parade was starting. So as they were doing the flyover at the B-2 stealth bomber, that was while we were on the bridge. That was pretty cool. So we had a pretty cool, pretty open view of seeing that. And then they get everybody just inch up the street until it's your time to get onto Orange Grove. And then once we're on Orange Grove, they have the pre-parade, which you end up marching. We ended up marching and playing one time, I think. And then you kind of just inch up from there without doing any sort of cadence or anything, because they have everything timed at a start point. So that way it's right on the TV corner. And so we ended up just waiting for our time. Then TV corner is right away in the parade. And then from there, you turn onto Colorado Boulevard. And the first probably half mile or so on Colorado Boulevard is still jam-packed with people with grandstands and stuff. And then after you go over to overpass is where you don't have any more grandstands for a while. But there's still probably 10, 15 people deep on both sides, you would say, all the way through the parade. And then we end up finishing the parade just after 11 local time is when we ended up finishing the parade. And one of the things that is unique that I didn't even think about before is that towards the end of the parade, you have to go underneath one of the highways. So all the floats have to collapse and get low enough to go underneath the overpass. And since we were with the float and at TV corner, we were in front, and then they had a maneuver. So we split in half, and then the float went in front of us, and then we came back together as a block. So we were right behind the float the entire time. Then after we finished, we went and took our equipment to the bus, and then walked back to the park at the Pasadena High School and had our In-N-Out burger post parade. And actually, right as we were having our In-N-Out burger, that's when my dad and I saw my brother's group of the Air Force coming in. So we got to take a picture after the parade with them, which was pretty cool.
So if I'm counting correctly, that's 2 In-N-Out burgers for this whole endeavor. Is that almost makes it worth it in and of itself, you know?
Even if you don't like In-N-Out burger, those burgers are the best darn thing you've eaten after a 5.5 mile parade. Like,
I bet.
it is the best thing.
I bet.
Chris, my youngest son, had marched the parade before for the 70th anniversary of the Air Force. He marched it 5 years before, and he said, "Dad, best thing you'll ever eat is that In-N-Out burger after that 5.5 mile parade." He was right. It was great.
I bet. That's a long parade too. I mean, 5.5 miles it just seems, exceptionally long. Of course, gosh, if throughout the whole thing, if people are at least 10 or 15 people deep, I guess it needs to be that long. But gosh,
yeah,
it seems long.
there really wasn't any place where there wasn't people to play for. I mean, it was, and then like our group, the group that came with us, the non-participants, like our wives and families and stuff that came with us, they weren't until about 3.5 miles into the parade. We got to Pasadena City College, and they had huge grandstands again there. And there were grandstands throughout the parade here and there, but I mean, nothing as huge as TV Corner. Although Pasadena City College, there was quite a few there. And we had been told ahead of time that's where our group would be. That's where our wives and families and stuff, our husbands would be. And so we're pretty pumped about that. And great to see those guys. TJ scoped out the landmarks so we'd know when we were coming into the area. So
Yeah.
we knew when we'd see everybody. And so, but it was, I was surprised, you know, I always prayed there's downtimes and stuff, and right at the end, we get under that overpass and we're still marching on. And at that point is where there were a lot of families of like the Pasadena All City Band and stuff. You can see people sitting on the side, still packed on both sides, and people holding up signs, yay, so-and-so for making it through the parade and stuff, you know. And it was a real appreciative crowd there. Everybody's cheering and yelling for us and stuff all the way right to the end. It was pretty cool.
They estimate about 1 million people are there in Pasadena watching the parade.
Live. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
They said 12 to 15 million on TV live also. So it's pretty cool.
I guess another memorable time in the parade is after you turn off of Colorado Boulevard onto, I think it's Sierra Madre, you end up marching right towards the mountains. And that was a pretty cool just view as you're looking out. And there's actually one part of it, you couldn't see it right when we turned, but up a little ways, you could see there's actually a part of the mountains that were covered in snow. So there's mountains, and then off in the distance, there's some snow-capped mountains that you can see.
That's really cool.
A humorous thing that happened in the parade, we were marching along, and one of the piccolos in the row in front of us is like, oh no, our float's falling apart. Because one of the figures on the float was kind of leaning back towards us, and I was like, oh, well, what's going on? And then TJ mentioned earlier that the floats the whole parade goes under an overpass. And so they actually have to lower stuff on the float. So we had like 4 figures on our float carrying instruments, and they had to lower them each down into the float to go under the bridge. So for a minute we thought, oh no, our float's falling apart, but oh no, we're okay. It's supposed to do. That was kind of a funny realization on the route.
Yeah. Talking about falling apart, 5.5 mile parade is no short distance, especially to play your instrument and everything else. And especially for those of us who haven't done a lot of that lately. What was that like endurance wise and everything else?
I'm 62. And like I said, TJ questioned me right away. Dad, 5 mile parade, are you up for this? You just coming off foot surgery. And so I was nervous about that from the get-go. I was like, okay, stamina, I don't want to be that guy that ends up falling out of the parade. I don't want to be that guy. And so I really couldn't walk extensively and push hard until more like August. By August, I was stepping up to walking 3.5 miles a day, and then of course I was playing some too, but I'm primarily a percussionist. So when I perform, I'm a timpanist. And so my kids decided that I was not going to play percussion in this marching band. That's another funny story, but we were supposed to sign up for what we wanted to play, and I'm not an email guy. And so I said to TJ at a rehearsal, oh, hey, there was an email come out. We're supposed to sign up for what we're going to play. And he's like, oh no, Dad, it's all taken care of. You're already signed up. I'm like, wait, what? He goes, yeah. Brothers and I got together and decided, yeah, you ain't carrying a drum for 6 miles. You're marching band. So I started marching and playing outside, and I'm marching up and down the paved road near my house, Lake the Ozarks, and playing my tunes. I think people thought I was crazy or something. And but I was playing, an hour and a half a day as it came up towards the parade. So I because I was nervous. I don't want to be that guy that got knocked out of this. I was pretty excited about that. I felt good as a big completion of a goal. Got to the end of that parade, I'm like, yes, got that.
Yeah.
And so that was the preparation was tough, and I worked real hard. I know everybody else did too. I know I got pictures on the Facebook of TJ marching in 6 inches of snow in Wisconsin before he left for the parade. TJ, you can touch on that.
Yeah. So shape wise, I wasn't super worried about like whether my legs would hold up for the parade, the marching and playing together, because for those that haven't done it in a while, it takes a lot more air when you're playing and marching the distance. So that was one thing. Again, they gave us the practice track. They gave us the music for the first time in June, I believe, and then we got the practice track September or October, somewhere in there
Yeah.
is when then we got the practice track where they had it. So it did 76 trombones a couple times, then cadence, and then it rotated through Stars and Stripes, cadence, Strike at the Band, cadence, and then back to 76 trombones, and it repeated 2 times through that cycle. And so that whole cycle was about 26 minutes is what they had through the cycle. So I did that. So I was doing it a couple times. Um, and I was worried about just whether we were going to be holding it at carry or up the whole time, being baritone, marching baritone. And luckily they were like, okay, after we get through TV corner, we can go down to trail. So we put it down at our sides. That was much appreciated. But endurance wise, I wasn't super worried, just making sure that I could play and march the entire way. And then, like my dad said, when I was out visiting my in-laws in Wisconsin before I flew out there, I was marching, including there was 6 inches of snow, and I was marching. The first couple days was fine, but the day before I flew out, the temperature was a little bit lower. Temperature was right about 20, and after the first mile, my valves were sticking. I was like, okay, that's a sign that I'm done for the day. So I called it a day that day. But the other days, the temperature was closer to 30.
Yeah, I don't think anything prepared me for having to play 76 trombones for like 30 minutes in a row and only having your horns down for about 4 counts in between each time. And that was the one song where we had to keep our horns up pretty much the whole time. And we had 2 phases for the parade. And that first one was 76 trombones for, I think, pretty close to 30 minutes of straight music. And then the second phase, we went into playing Stars and Stripes Forever, Strike Up the Band, and 76 trombones again. But I definitely longed for the times that we played Stars and Stripes Forever, because I could actually put my horn to my side and get my arms a rest. I think I speak for all of us whenever I say that it was Stars and Stripes Forever was definitely a song we looked forward to, because we could put our horns down for a second and give our arms a break. That parade is more taxing on my arms, I think, than it was on my face or my legs at that point in time. So
Sounds like you all had a really great experience with it. Who would you recommend that should look into doing this? What type of director, what type of person should look into this?
everybody, I don't necessarily think there's any specific, like Tom said, he's 62 years old. He got out there and did it. I mean, we had directors that were almost 7 feet tall. We had directors that were almost 5'4" in all different kinds of shapes and sizes and anything. I don't necessarily think that there was any specific kind of director or person. Like most band directors, I think deep down every band director would love to march in this parade. And I think they at least talk as wanting to do it potentially again in the future. I think they mentioned I think every 4 years is the limit as to how many times or how frequently you could go. I think there's a 4-year block on that. But if it comes back around again, I think every band director should at least apply to have a chance to march in it.
Just to piggyback off of what Tyler and TJ said, like I think everybody should do it. As a profession, we're always trying to get better at what we're doing, or at least we hope we are. So you just have to step outside of your comfort zone and just go for it. Like I can't express that enough. Like I've traveled to Texas, Indiana, Ohio, like all over just to get professional development and learn from different people. And this is a chance where you're in one place to learn from 300 other band directors. Like we don't get this very often, like Midwest kind of, MMEA kind of, but like to sit down next to people. I sat down from people from Alabama, Las Vegas, Nevada, like I actually sat down to people from just across the river in Illinois. Like you have to step outside of your comfort zone and just go for it. And for me, I see it as an investment in myself as a teacher. Like, yes, was it super cheap to do it? Absolutely not. But I invested in myself because I wanted my kids to be able to share this experience with me. So I think that's important when you think
That's
about it.
probably something a lot of people, we've been talking a lot about the parade itself and the rehearsal and everything else, but there's a ton of downtime. And there's times where you're just sitting there with 300 other band directors that care enough about what they do that they would fly across the country, whatever, to do this thing. So yeah, I would imagine there's a ton of networking and resources available from that experience.
As a teacher, we get to teach a lot, we don't always get to do what we teach. And this was a chance where we just do what we teach, and the networking, even we're standing in the lineup, and waiting for them to make a decision about what we're doing next, or waiting for the next rep. And the person standing next to you, you're chatting with him about, well, how, beginning band, what, you have your flute players with the rest of the band, or are they by themselves? Just, it's constant networking. It was fantastic. And for the most part, other really good teachers, because these were people that were go-getters, these were the people that were willing to jump, like Angelique said, jump out of their box and do the thing, so it was an amazing experience. And then the other thing that I always remember about this is just playing in that good a band. I went to a small high school and went to a small college, so playing in a phenomenal 300-piece band is not something I've done before. That was something else,
The thing I'd like to add is one of the things that, if you noticed on our float, they were honoring several band directors. So they had Jim Swearingen was there, and he was available to talk to the whole time. Albert Watkins from Lassiter was there, and he did a continuing education session on Friday evening, but he was available to talk to. They also, when we were there for our judging of the float, Frank DeKelly came and said hi to our group, and a couple people got to say hi to him. And then one other unique person, as we were marching down the parade route on Colorado Boulevard, all of a sudden, we hear "Go band directors," and a guy points at our row, and the band director that was next to us, he was like, "You know who that was, right?" And my dad and we were like, "No." He was like, "That was Eric Whitaker."
Yeah. The guy next to me knew him, so he was giving us a shout out, particularly to our row, because he knew the guy next to me. So it was,
Right.
Yeah, Eric Whitaker just called us out. Yeah, thank you very much. So
That's cool. That's really cool. What was the cost to do all this?
For the actual package, it was just over 2,000, but then you also had to pay for your flight.
and did some uniform things, white shirts and stuff like that. So yeah, it was part of our money that we paid for it went to pay for the building of the float. So that way it didn't come out of foundation money that people had donated to help out bands and stuff. We ended up kind of saddling that bird for like our family that went along, like my wife and TJ's mom went along, and it was, it was just over 1,000 for her, again, plus plane fare and stuff. But it was an extra 1,500 or so for us because we were helping build the float, which I'm okay with that. I mean, I don't want that to come out of somebody's, raised money somewhere. I'll shoulder that burden. That's cool. I'm with that. And that was a good investment. The float was cool. It was fine, so interesting note about the float. I was told by somebody that the guy who does Funky Winkerbean, Tom Baddock, designed it was his design for the faces of the people on the float. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know he was out there, and his cartoons for the last 2-3 weeks have been about this band director's band, and about Harry L. Dinkle going to march the Rose Bowl parade, and stuff like that. That was kind of a cool side note. So even he got caught up in this whole thing and was pretty excited about it. So
how many days was it, including travel?
Well, let's see. Was it Friday? We were there 5 days. We stayed an extra day. We stayed and came back on the 2nd. I think Angelique did too. And we so TJ, I think, came back the night of the 1st. But if I had to do it again, which I hope, if they do this again in 4 years, I am on this like white on rice, and hope to have all 4 of us band directors in my family there next time. Maybe that's a dream of me if we do this. But I didn't know it was an option to go out a day or two ahead of time and hang out there. And that some people had done that. I'm like, oh man, I would have done that. And we thought, well, we'll stay the extra day and we'll get some time. But you get up Sunday morning, you got to get packed and you got to get to your flight. So we didn't have any free time Sunday, but we did have time Saturday afternoon. And TJ and us hung out. We went to Cheesecake Factory and celebrated, and stuff like that. So at least Saturday afternoon was kind of fun. He left that night then and we stayed. But that's if I have to do over again, I'll go out earlier and stay later, I think, But it was 4 or 5 day commitment, and you could have done it in a day less, I think. But I'm glad we took as much as we did time for it. It was great. So
Yeah, I'll say I have family out in California on my dad's side of the family, so I actually went out and we got there on Christmas night. So we left Christmas Day and flew out there and drove down from Northern California through the mountains to get down there. And then I actually had 2 days extra on the end of my stay because Southwest canceled my flights home on Sunday. So they added 2 days to our stay in California. And like I told my principal when I called him, I was like, California is a wonderful state, except for when you want to be home. Because at that point in time, I was ready to be home and get back to work, so I could share this experience with my students and the other educators in my building and everything. But my stay was about 9 days, I think, with flying out on Christmas Day and coming home 2 days later than I should have.
we were flying out of Columbia, and we flew to Dallas Fort Worth, and then we were supposed to fly from there out to LA. And so our Dallas Fort Worth plane, we noticed a couple people with band directors band shirts on, like us. We're like, hey, you going to the band directors band, So we had already hooked up, and we got on the plane. And I thought, I bet there's a ton of us on here. I bet there's a dozen of us that are going out just for this band. People are coming in. The one lady was from Virginia, another guy was from South somewhere, Texas or somewhere, or from Florida somewhere. And so we got there, we were almost out there, and they were like, yeah, so about that landing at Burbank thing, yeah, that ain't gonna happen. We're gonna come into Ontario because the weather's bad at Burbank. And so, we're looking that up, and that's an extra hour in an Uber to get over to the hotel. But it's doable, but then we started looking at the price of an Uber for the extra hours. Like, wow, that's a lot more money, And so I said to my wife, like, I bet there's, a bunch of us on this plane. We're going to make the same trip. Maybe we should get together and share Ubers. So like they're starting to unload, and I stand up like, so anybody else in here involved in this band director's bands? Hands going up around the plane. So, okay, let's meet at the luggage carousel. we'll divvy up and share Ubers. Everybody's like, oh yeah, good thing. So
Mark.
that was a travel snafu.
Yeah. Take the lead. That's awesome.
It's what we do,
That's right.
So I flew out Tuesday, and my only goal was before we did our band director stuff is I wanted to go to the beach because I had never been to California. So I got to go to Malibu on Tuesday and spend the afternoon there. I rented a car and drove up the shore and then went down to the beach and did all that. And it was a nice relaxing way before going to work. So that was my fun of just like, and my flights luckily were decent. So luckily my airplane wasn't as bad as some of you all, but we made it there and back. I think it's super fun because a lot of times you hear how we talk about in the music world, how it's a very small world. After we got done with the Rose Bowl parade, I found out the mellophone player that I marched with that was on my left side, he's actually the guy that's like, so I student taught with Andy Meserly at Francis House Central. And then my neighbor, his name's Dave. I forget his last name because I'll pronounce it wrong, but he is who Andy's student taught with. So we found out like after the parade that we all had this connection together of like, student, teacher. Like it was super unique to be able to, I actually saw Dave the day we left and I was like, I didn't know Andy student taught with you. So it was super neat to like make this connection with him. And like, we had talked about all sorts of things because I knew he was from Illinois. He teaches in the Chicago suburbs. So I got to talk to him about Chicago and, education just across the river. So it was super fun. Can we also talk about how there is an epic picture of Tyler Plane giving a thumbs up down the street? Like, it's super epic and awesome because he made it on the TV with that. And I just got to say, we have to love that picture forever because I thought it was super, super.
I've not seen this picture.
That's on KTLA. That's on the KTLA feed.
Donovan, I'll have to show that to you. So funny story about that. I give my parents a thumbs up every time I see them in a parade route. And I was like, out of the corner of my eye, like I knew I was on TV. So I was like trying not to like turn my head or anything. So out of the corner of my eye, I saw my dad and my mom stand up. So I like gave them a thumbs up. Like let them know that I saw them. I do it every time I see them in a parade. And I was just acknowledging that I saw them. And yep, that just so happened to be when the camera was like literally only me on the TV screen. And they caught my thumbs up. And I was on the bus.
Even said something about it.
Yes, the commentator's like, look at him giving a thumbs up while he's playing the trumpet. That's so cool. And on the bus, on my bus, on the way home or on the way back to the hotel, someone was like, who's the thumbs up guy? Does anyone know who the thumbs up guy was? And I was like, that was me. So yes, I got a close up of me giving a thumbs up on the TV.